Let me first of all thank all of you for being present here. And I know that a long weekend is waiting for all of you in Maharashtra. So we are really, on behalf of my government, I really thank all of you for being present here. I don't know how many of you have been to Sri Lanka. Anyway, I feel that before I start, part of my job I think has already been done by my conveyor, right? Because he had done a good presentation, very brief, what Sri Lanka is, right? As you all know that Sri Lanka is a very tiny little island. We are only 65,640 square kilometers, which is slightly bigger than Kerala. Kerala is 45,000 square kilometer and Sri Lanka is 65,000 square kilometer. But population-wise, we are much, much, much smaller. We are only 22 million population and Kerala is 36 million population. Right. That itself shows the scope of tourism in Sri Lanka. Right? Because we have a lot of empty spaces, lot of greeneries, lot of sceneries, and that makes Sri Lanka wonderful. If you compare with Mumbai, right, one urban area, Mumbai population is 22 million, that is equivalent to our population. In other words, in Sri Lanka, where one person living, in Mumbai, 1,000 people living in the equal space. So that shows the sort of openness we have, and also that has influenced our population, and that is why you say, in spite of all our political turbulences or economic turbulences, perceived turbulences, even now when you come down to Sri Lanka, you see people with a lot of smiling faces. Our nation is a smiling nation. Right? Our nation is a smiling nation. Now, though we are very small in area, like 65,640 square kilometer, I should say that within that small area, we are packed with immense natural, cultural, and historical wonders. Right? One thing I would like to confess, one thing I would like to say, that I am not an expert in tourism, right? I have two of my colleagues seated, my either side. They are the experts. They will explain more on the natural and the other one. But I thought that probably I might touch a little bit on the cultural side. When you say cultural side, there are two aspects to Indo-Sri Lankan cultural relationship. That is, as you know, that our cultural relationship dates back to more than 2,500 or even 5,000 years back to the Ramayana days. Right? So, two significant cultural relationships between Sri Lanka and India. One is the Ramayana trade, and the other one is the Buddhist trade. And you all know that Buddhism is a blessing given to us by India. Right? So, even now, right in my Mumbai, my 2 years of service in Mumbai, I have been interacting with Indian Buddhists, and Maharashtra is a state where you have 6.5 million Buddhists living in Maharashtra. And I have been interacting with a lot of Buddhist places, lot of Buddhist temples, and also, the Buddhists themselves. And one thing I noticed, when it comes to Buddhism, unanimously, in unison, many of them feel that Sri Lanka could be the Mecca of Buddhism. For spirituality, each and every one of the Buddhists want to, make their presence in Sri Lanka, go to Sri Lanka and witness the way we practice Buddhism in Sri Lanka. And when it comes to Theravada Buddhism, I should say that we practice, Sri Lanka could be the only nation, I should say that. But that they also, I would like to say that I'm not a Buddhist, I'm a Hindu, but still I have a lot of interest in cultural areas. And with that, I can authentically say that Sri Lanka could be the only nation where Theravada Buddhism is practiced in the purest form. That you yourself will have to come down to Sri Lanka and witness it, how we practice it. You will be amazed by the stupas, the size of stupas we have, which once upon a time we could challenge even the pyramids of Gizas. Right? So, and as you all know that Arahant Mahinda, that is King Ashoka's son, is the one who came with the message of Buddhism, and gave it to, Devanampiyattisa, one of our kings, and, the entire nation embraced. 70% of the population now, as of now, embrace Buddhism. And when it comes to Buddhism, I should say that there are a lot of similarities, though, especially particularly a state like Kerala, right? Though Kerala is predominantly Hindus now, one section of the population, I should say that, because I authentically say that because I grew up in Kerala, I studied in Kerala, so I know a lot of cultural similarities between Kerala and Sri Lanka. So Buddhism is one area to be explored, not only by the Maharashtrian Buddhists, even the Hindus, right? Because of the similarities involved, and also I should say that the simplicity given to us by Buddhism, the elegance given to us by Buddhism, you can see it in our lifestyle. That is why I always say that our nation is a smiling nation, and you can see the people, in spite of all the troubles we have, right? They always smile, and especially they are very hospitable to any foreigners coming down. I always used to say that whenever you come down to Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankans would smile at you. Right? But you got to be careful. When a Sri Lankan smile at you, you got to be careful. You should not smile at him or smile at him or her back. Because if you smile, you are taking a big risk. You will get invited to his or her house for a lunch or a dinner, and you will be given a hot and spicy gastroeconomical shock. If you enjoy it, smile at them. Smile at them. Anyway, now the cultural one side, the second area I thought of, I will touch upon the Ramayana area. Ramayana, if you look at Ramayana, because I have done a lot of studies on Ramayana, if you look at, there are 3-4 tribes on Ramayana. One is to start with the Hanuman trail. Hanuman trail, first you should start with Ravana's trail. How Ravana abducted Sita, supposed to have abducted Sita. Before that, I should caution you, when I say all these things, we have 43 identified Ramayana sites in Sri Lanka, 43. But when I say 43 identified Ramayana sites, that doesn't mean that it's all archaeologically or historically proved. As you all know, that Ramayana is an epic, right? And epic, my understanding of an epic is a little bit of history, little bit of mythology, and little bit of philosophy, all three combined together. And as you all know, that for mythology, there is no evidences, there is no archaeological evidences. It is our conviction, it is our belief. Right? And philosophy also, repeatedly once keep on saying something, it becomes a philosophy, it becomes a philosophy. But the Ramayana sites, 43 Ramayana sites, if you say that has been corroborated by various scholars on the basis of Valmiki Ramayana, how Valmiki has written Ramayana, and Valmiki has identified various locations, and that has been corroborated by the local legends. Because you would be amazed, you would be surprised, if you go to some of these sites, most of the sites, right, if you speak to the locals, they will authentically say what you have been hearing during your childhood, from your grandparents, or from your parents, or from the TV serials you have been hearing, exactly the same sort of stories you can hear from the local population, right, from all those sides. So you have Sita trial. Sita trial means how Ravana abducted Sita and brought her back where Sita was kept, and ultimately the epitome of that Sita trail is two areas. One is Ashoka, and the other one is where Sita was supposed to have done Agni Pariksha. Right? So these are the two, when it comes to Sita, this one. Then comes Hanuman trail. That is how Hanuman came in search of Sita, and where Hanuman stopped. The first place landed where Hanuman landed, then went to Mandodari's palace to see, searching for Sita, where according to Valmiki Ramayana, this is not I'm quoting, according to Valmiki Ramayana, it was an amazing sight. Right, when he landed, when he went to Sri Lanka, right, it was amazing, it was supposed to be very beautiful, everything is beautiful, everything is orderly, right, and he was amazed. And I'm sure that if you come down to Sri Lanka even now, you will be able to see more or less the replicate of the same Hanuman's description, right? Because we are packed with that sort of mantras. Okay, that is Hanuman's thing. Then comes Rama, from Ram Setu onwards, right? Ram Setu onwards, the war, wherever the war taken place, where Lakshman got injured, and when when Lakshman was treated, then when Hanuman went back and brought Mrita Sanjeevani, and how the Mrita Sanjeevani pieces and bits and pieces of Mrita Sanjeevani was fallen in various places, and those places have been identified. And once Rama came in, the temples Rama went and worshipped. The first temple Rama went and worshipped was from after Ram Setu, right? The moment he came to the closest area, there is a place called Mannar. I think in your map you can see it, Mannar. There is a temple called Tirukendiswaram, and that was supposed to have been built by Mandodaris. You know Mandodari, Ravana's wife. Mandodari's father, Mayasuran, right? And that temple Rama first worshipped today, then came, then after the war, Rama supposed to have been advised by Shiva and various, the Brahmin Pandit saying that because water said then Ravana was also considered as a, very intellectual and also very, with 10 heads means, 10 skills. 10 skills he had. So to conduct certain penance. And according to penance, Rama was supposed to have gone and visited few temples, right? And another temple is in Trikomali. That is one of the most beautiful part of Sri Lanka, that is East Coast, right? The temple is slightly on a higher level, Tirukondaiswaran temple, that was supposed to have been built by Ravana, and Ravana's mother to come and worship, and even Ravana used to come and worship there. Even Rama after the war came and worshipped there. And the additional site is, if you keep that slightly on the higher elevation, right, you will be able to see sometimes blue whales. Bottom of the city is at the edge of the ocean, right, in the Bay of Bengal, you can see the blue whales, coming up and down and up and down and down. When it comes to blue whales, if you look at the map, the Sri Lankan map, what we have given, right around, you get humpback and the blue whales, right around. And this is where I say that Sri Lanka is a wonder. If you get into the sea areas, you get to the, like humpback as well as the blue whales, then hundreds of dolphins jumping up and down. Then you have all sorts of menagerie of wildlife like coral gardens, then ornamental fish, sea turtles going. You will be able to even sometimes, feed the sea turtles. If you go 100 meters, 200 meters inside, you will be able to feed the sea turtles. As you feed the sea turtles, sometimes you will be surprised. The whales, will glide past you and go. Right? So it's so wonderful. Right? So that is on the Ramayana trail. And I think the rest of the things I leave it to my colleagues, when it comes to the natural and the historical areas, right? And why Sri Lanka is so beautiful, I should say that if you look at the topography of Sri Lanka, right, we have hills and more than hills. We are a nation blessed with 320 days of rain and 365 days of sunshine. And because of that, we have 132 rivers in a small area, 132 rivers and 165 waterfalls. And that makes Sri Lanka even more beautiful. Plus, of course, our smiling people. Anyway, I leave it to my colleagues. Thank you so much.
That we are doing as part of our promotional campaign. We were in Kolkata, then we were in Ahmedabad, and today we are in Pune. Because Sri Lanka, India is one of the biggest and one of the most attractive and top markets. Because if you really see for in 2023, just few days back, we welcomed 1 million tourist arrivals in the country, and of which 22 to 4% contribution is from the Indian market. So Indian market plays a significant role. Another thing that you have to understand is we are a destination that could be promoted very easily right around the year. We are not a country that is seasonal. There is no seasonality in our country. We are a destination that your DMCs can promote 365 days of the year. There again, traditionally, Sri Lanka was known as a sun and sea market. If a customer is looking for sun and sea, Sri Lanka was the place. But today, we have diversified into much more than that. You could talk about water sports, marine tourism, wildlife, Ayurvedic, cultural, religious, you name it. Basically, other than the snow, Sri Lanka can basically offer a tourist anything. So with that said, when we went into detail and checked why India as a destination is selecting Sri Lanka, we found through our research the regional similarities and the ECR connectivity and the easy visa process was one of the other three key elements that was really attracting and of course the kind of variety that we give Sri Lanka as a destination.
I represent the Convention Bureau. Convention Bureau is the MICE arm of the Ministry of Tourism. As you all know, MICE stands for meetings, incentives, conventions, events, and exhibitions. So, like my colleague Nalin explained, Sri Lanka is not about sea and sun. We handle many of the corporate events from the Indian sector as well. So far we have had many big Indian corporate giants having their corporate functions in Sri Lanka. Groups like Pfizer Pharmaceutical, Lupin, Tata, to Bosch, Alliance, you name it, they have had their functions. So we just want to tell the industry that Sri Lanka is ready not just as a leisure destination to welcome your corporate sector as well. So as Nalin mentioned, today is our last roadshow, but we will come back. We have been having many roadshows throughout the year in India, and we will come back again next year, continue to spread the word and position Sri Lanka as a corporate destination for MICE travelers. So thank you, and we are open for your questions.
One thing political turmoil, but as of now, Sri Lanka is extremely safe and there's absolutely no problem. So I request all my media colleagues to take this message very clearly to the Indian community, saying that Sri Lanka is safe and they can, without a problem, travel any time of the year. So please take that message. As you know, we earlier had a campaign, mainly we used to say visit Sri Lanka, but with this Indian tour, we are globally with a new campaign where it will say you come back for more. Sri Lanka, you come back for more, which is going to be our new tagline. Because like how I mentioned and Doctor mentioned and my colleague mentioned, that there is so much which you can't cover within a short period. So therefore we don't want Sri Lanka to be in someone's bucket list where you say, yes, I visited. Because we have our repeat rate is extremely high, somewhere close to 30%. So that's something that we will focus on. Why you have so many repeaters is because there's something attractive and there is much more than that one could absorb at one given time. So politically, we are absolutely in a steady situation and the country is moving as usual, absolutely no problem, no scarcities, nothing. So please take that message to the Indian market. Thank you.
Our crisis started. For the last 2 years, I should say that, or ever since the crisis was there, this is one of the issues I have been facing in Mumbai. Wherever I go, even my social occasions or even my official occasions. Even last week I was in Kerala, right, the place I grew up literally. I studied. They also wherever I went, the first question they ask is how safe is Sri Lanka? So I used to smile at them. I just used to smile, as typical Sri Lankan, that is the first reaction we always get, smiling, right? We smile. I should say that I'm not denying the fact that we did not have any crisis. We had a crisis. But that crisis, I should say that was mostly economical. Right? When I say economical, I should say more specifically it was foreign currency liquidity issue. The moment foreign currency liquidity issue emerged, what happened was it affected all our import supply chain, including the petroleum products and pharmaceuticals. Right? And these petroleum products means, that what would happen, there was chaos in the country, that people were waiting for the fuel at the fuel stations. And, then unfortunately for us, I should say that is our fortunate as well as unfortunate aspect of Sri Lanka is Sri Lanka happened to locate in the most important geostrategic location in the world, right? So with that, what happened was some of the geopolitical stakeholders, right, this economic turbulence or that economic crisis, not economic, the foreign currency crisis, what happened was it created a little bit of a political turbulence. I specifically use the terminology called turbulence. Why I said turbulence? Because any democracy on and off, now like if you look at India also, right, you get turbulences all over, any given time. The turbulences means, demonstration here, there, demonstration there, and the media, give the publicity for it, and the opposition debate on it, and that has been going on. But unfortunately for us, as I said, what happened was, I'm not naming any nations, but some geopolitical stakeholders, right, manipulated the whole situation and converted the whole thing into a political crisis or into a political typhoon rather. And I should say that I'm not blaming any of you. The media has done the rest of the job, right? And people like us have to face, right, the questions like how safe is Sri Lanka? And I should say that when you ask me how safe is Sri Lanka, I should say that there are 65 major Indian companies invested in Sri Lanka. And there are more than 3,000 Indian executives, senior executives, living in Sri Lanka with their family members, right? The best thing is you ask any one of them whether Sri Lanka is safe or whether they are happy there or not. Unanimously, they will say that we are all very happy there because I know many of them. Because they enjoy high quality standard of living. The schools of international standards, hospitals of international standards, and I should say that the roads, right, clean roads, carpeted clean roads without any potholes and garbage, and of course without any traffic cacophony, right? That is Sri Lanka, and I'm sure that they all enjoy their life. You ask them, you ask any one of them, right? They will say that we are all very happy. Okay, thank you.
After financial
Before the crisis, Indian rupee was around 2.38. One Indian rupee was equivalent to 2.3. Now one Indian rupee is 3.4, right? So that way you benefit. And more than that, what happened was, if you look at our hotel rates now, even now, the pre-COVID, the rates like $100, $125, for a 5-star hotel, that still remains the same, right? So I think Indians stand to benefit. And the second thing is now Indian rupee is accepted in Sri Lanka, and UPI has been implemented, right? So it's ease of traveling is very, 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 very high now. And to be frank with you, now our office is loaded with, we are getting lot of inquiries on MICE tourism, and also we are getting lot of inquiries on destination weddings, and in fact 2-3 weddings have already taken place. And when Indian destination wedding means, they book them. When they are resort, like 200 rooms, 300 rooms, 400 rooms they book. Right? And it's huge money. They spend a lot of money, and we are very happy. Yeah, and film production as well. Quite a few, South Indian films came, and recently I think Ayushmann Khurrana's one film came. Right? Yeah, Prabhudeva came. Right? So shootings also taking place. Now, what I am saying is, it is a Herculean task on our side. We have to break the sort of the mindset created by during that crisis time, especially in the Indian media, that we have to break it. That I think only you let go and experience it, or you have to speak to the people who are living here. Right? Whatever I say, you say that normally. I'm not sure. I don't know whether you all will be looking at my nose, whether it is getting longer and longer and longer. Because we diplomats are supposed to say glorified lies on behalf of our nation. Right? I'm not, so that's what I say. Don't go by my word. Right? Don't go by my word. Right? Listen to the people there. And that is one of the reasons, because of this economic stability, because of the political stability only. You look at, recently when our president visited Delhi, the sort of MOUs have been signed between India and Sri Lanka. And it's all forward integration. It's all long term. It's not medium term. It's not short term. Right? And one more thing I can tell you, if you look at the economic investments, because I know that I'm lucky that to get, initially when I was posted to Mumbai, I was not very happy because I considered myself as a senior man. I thought that this is a junior posting, but I'm very happy that now I'm here because this is the economic hub of India. Right? And we get a lot of courage, especially on the renewable energy areas, and it's not small investments, I can tell you. It is $15 billion, $20 billion, by the big boys, all interested. And if they want to come and invest in Sri Lanka, or if the government of India want to, sign these MOUs on, various long-term projects, right? If Sri Lanka is politically unstable, or if Sri Lanka is economically unstable. So when you look at the population proportion for 22 million, out of 22 million population, 1.8 million Sri Lankans visiting India means out of 140 billion population, I think we expect at least, right? I don't know, you are according to your imagination, the Indian tourists to come to Sri Lanka.
So the cost variation that you do, like it's a benefit for
become more affordable for the Indians because the rupee has devalued. But actually, if you look at our hotel rates are actually increased now, especially the securities, because the government has come up with a minimum city hotel rate. That's because we foresee the coming in the winter is going to be good for us. So we want to maximize revenue. So for the securities, we have started a minimum rate starting from $100 plus for 5-star. So, but the point is for Indians, Sri Lanka has become more affordable even at the current higher little increased rates.
another big question that comes into the tourist mind.
You really see Sri Lanka police, that is the authorities have allocated a separate unit which functions as tourism police unit. So they work hand in hand with Sri Lanka Development Authority, and we have identified especially the areas that the tourists travel, especially if we take the beaches, or we have police posts. Not that anyone will come and try to hit you or attack, but in case if there's a problem, any concern, you can reach tourist police where they will take immediate action to do that. In addition, as we are in the modern era, we are in the process of formulating an app. So any tourist who land in Sri Lanka can download that app. You can see what attractions in the area, you name it, the restaurants. The most important thing is aspect is the security. Which tuk-tuk do you take, which taxi do you take, what's the number. So all those aspects are covered. So thereby any tourist coming into the country will feel much more safer than your own home. I can assure you that. And we as the authority, that is one of the main roles we have to do. We need to look after the security aspect of any tourist coming into the country.
So you mentioned